Hello, and welcome to Odds on Premier League. It's match day 15. December is here. Premier League midweek fixtures are here. Christmas is almost here, and Tom Rennie is here too. How are you, Tom?
I'm ready to spread some festive cheer with you, Leo.
Well, you have already spread some festive cheese because your ACCA was spot on match day 14. So congratulations for that, Tom.
Yes, my ACCA was spot on. My safe bet was spot on. I think I got 5 of the 10 games spot on with my top tips. And also on the spread bets I gave you, I got at least one bet right on 8 of the 10 games. So I was very happy with this weekend.
Amazing, and we're looking forward, of course, to hear everything you got for match day 15. Plenty of tips and predictions to share, all courtesy of Tom Rennie. Before we get going with the show, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Now, let's go with the show. All right, Tom. First match we got is Wolverhampton at home against Burnley. Wolves lost 3 of the last 4 matches, 2 of those away from home, Fulham and Arsenal. Although to lose now against the Gunners in the Emirates, I have the feeling is something that is becoming like traveling to the Etihad in good city times. You know you're going back home empty-handed. You just don't know how many goals you will bag. In the end, a 2-1 after the final whistle does not sound too bad, at least if you haven't watched the game. But playing at home, Wolves have beaten Manchester City, have beaten Tottenham, have beaten or have taken points from Newcastle and Aston Villa. With this home record, with Mateus Cunha and Juan Hichan looking like the best attacking pair since the days of Raúl Jiménez and Adama Traoré, should they worry against this Burnley that finally got 3 points at home, scoring 5 past Sheffield on Saturday?
I wouldn't worry. I mean, the Arsenal game played out exactly as we predicted here on Thursday's show, that Arsenal would race into a lead, try and close the game down, and Wolves may well come on strong as the game went on. We went Arsenal winning both teams to score, and that's exactly what happened. And Wolverhampton Wanderers are a good side, very well coached. They have some really impressive players in their team. Mateus Cunha is impressed. Hwang Hee-chan as impressed. I'm always a big fan of Craig Dawson in central defence, who came back for the Arsenal game, I think following suspension the previous week. There's a really good squad there, the basis of a good squad. They are absolutely short of 3 or 4 top quality players. You can really feel the loss of Pedro Neto in the last couple of performances, but there's a lot there to like about Wolverhampton Wanderers. And you mentioned their home form. 2 defeats this season, but that was at the very start of this campaign. Unbeaten in their last 4 at home with 2 victories in that time, 9 goals scored. So it's a pretty impressive record. You mentioned the teams they've beaten as well, Tottenham and Manchester City. There's no mean feat there. And for Burnley, yes, they won at the weekend against Sheffield United, and they should absolutely enjoy that. But the deficiencies are still there. Away from home, it's 1 victory all season. That was at Luton a few weeks ago. It's 12 goals conceded. It's 4 defeats. And this is a squad that remain not of the required quality. And Sheffield United, you know who they beat at the weekend. The issues they have financially have meant they couldn't even build a Premier League team going into this season. So they are the whipping boys of the division. To go down to 10 men in that game as well made a massive difference. So the safe money here is on Wolverhampton Wanderers. There's nothing I saw last weekend from Burnley to change my mind that they're going to be relegated this season. So how do we make some money? Well, straight up, you can't go for a Wolves win at 1.91. That's not going to be worth your time. But if you look at recent scorelines for both of these teams and you look at Wolves' home record this season, in the last 4 games, they have been both teams to score. You look at the last run of games for Burnley as well, away from home. They have been nicking goals. You look at the nick goal against Arsenal, the nick goal against Bournemouth, a similar story against Luton where they went on to win that game. They have been able to score goals away from home, but they always concede. So the obvious bet here is pick a team and both teams to score. I'll go Wolves and both teams to score. That brings you in at 3.75. Really, really nice. However, though I think both teams might score, I still think relatively low scoring. So I could say Wolves and over 2.5 goals in the match. That brings me in at 2-1. But I also think both teams score and Wolves win with late goals also makes a big differential here. So Wolves and over 2.5 and Wolves and both teams score. Those are my bets.
Either way, 275, 375, they look very, 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 very healthy for Wolverhampton and Burnley. Next one, Tom, is Luton Town in London against receives the visit of Arsenal. Luton didn't offer much in West London against the Brentford, but the last two matches at home, they can show a 1-1 draw with Liverpool and a 2-1 defeat of Crystal Palace. They have actually scored in 5 of their 6 Premier League home matches this season. They have now Tom Arsenal and Manchester City consecutively in their ground. Of course, no one is going to judge their season by this type of games, but at the same time, you imagine, I believe that how much could mean for their fans to create amazing memories against teams like Arsenal tomorrow. Will you trust Luton to score, or Kaminski, the goalkeeper, to keep doing a great job as he's doing this Premier League season? And for Arsenal, what I have seen in their away game 2 weeks ago against Brentford, Tom, is that this season it seems that they don't mind if they cannot play, at least away from home, if they cannot play their beautiful football, but they can take the 3 points.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point, and I think that has led to a fair amount of cautious betting on Arsenal this year from us and across the board. I mean, look, on Luton, briefly, they have competed brilliantly in every single game. The trouble is, to compete, they have been very, very negative. They are not a team that go out to win games. They are a team that go out not to be beaten, and then they try and win late in the game if they are still in it. They are, in Rob Edwards, coached by someone who is of the David Moyes, Sam Allardyce, Sean Dyche era of managers who did this every single week to great success for the best part of a decade in the Premier League. And it may well keep them up in the end because of Everton's point deduction, because of deficiencies elsewhere. Yeah. I still think they'll go, but it'll certainly keep them in the battle to the end. The Arsenal scenario is interesting because it does make me think cautiously here about what I'm going to bet on with Arsenal. But then I look at their away form this year with 4 victories and 9 goals scored. I look at the teams they've been able to beat away from home in narrow victories. You look at the Everton game, you look at the Brentford game. What's the overriding narrative in those matches? They won without conceding. There's so little value in this game unless you go big Arsenal win. So if you don't really fancy that, you've got to look for something like Arsenal to win to 0. That only brings you in at 2. I'm trying to find 2-1s, which is 3. And I'm trying to find 3s here, but there's nothing really I can find of particular value. Yes, you can go Saka to score and Arsenal to win. Yes, you can go Jesus to score and Arsenal to win, though. Don't do that. He's not scoring right now. But that's how you're maybe going to make some money, by doubling up your bets here. And I'll leave that to people's individual gut feelings. For me, Arsenal win to 0 is the most likely scoreline. So that's where my money goes. And Arsenal -2 handicap is risky. It brings you in at 2.5. They have won big away from home this season. You look at the Bournemouth game back in September, end of September, start of October. They did win that 3-0 or 4-0. So you could look at a -2 handicap. You could look at a -3 handicap at 4.5. But I think that's too adventurous. The only other bet I pick out here is Arsenal to win both halves. For me, they win this game 2-0. They win both halves 1-0, and they win it without conceding. So Arsenal to win both halves, 2.38. You double that with Arsenal to win to 0. You might get to the magical 2-1 mark. But Arsenal, low-scoring victory for me.
Yeah, I like that Arsenal to win 2-0. The only thing I don't trust too much David Raya. There seems that at least once a game he will juggle with the ball next to the goal line, and anything could happen. Could happen there. Next one now, Tom. After this Luton Arsenal, next up we have Brighton at the Amex with Brentford. I guess Brentford would have liked to be in the position of Chelsea yesterday. What I mean is to face Brighton less than 72 hours after they had to travel or play in Greece, and with the starting 11, which was not their first pick, because yesterday in Stamford Bridge, Pascal Gross, Joao Pedro, Mitoma did not start the game, but they will all do it against Brentford. The Cherries team on 22 points, Brentford on 19. This season away, Brentford 3 points they took in Stamford Bridge, something that Brighton couldn't do yesterday, but they got nothing out of their visits to Old Trafford, Anfield, and James Park. Against Nottingham Forest, they could only rescue a point. Last season in the Amex, we saw a goal-scoring feast, a free draw. Can you think this time around of something similar? Would you look at both teams to score here? or either way, a win for Brighton or to Brentford does not look bad at all as well. 1.98 for Brighton, 3.95 for Brentford, which why they cannot think of a win in the Amex.
I mean, if you're looking for safe bets right now in English football, maybe the safest bet going is Brighton and both teams to score. I think that's 10 or 11 in a row that Brighton have been involved in now in the Premier League where both teams have scored. And the numbers in their game are absolutely crazy. 14 games played, 30 goals scored, but 26 goals conceded. That is wild. There is no team in the country that have had that many goals in their games this season. So whatever you do here, until this run comes to an end, bet on both teams to score in Brighton games. The variables in Brighton, as you mentioned, are interesting because of the amount of injuries, plus the rotation in terms of injuries we don't know about, fitness problems, unable to play 2 games in a week, to your point. We do know no Estupinian, no Lamptey, and Sufati out until maybe January, February. No Enciso, no Welbeck, no Adam Webster. Lewis Dunk still suspended, got 2 games for the red card against Forest. Solly March, who was brilliant for them, missing as well. So they're so difficult to predict because I don't know who's going to play. The only safe thing I'll say here is both teams to score. If you take Brighton to win and both teams to score, that brings you in over the magic line. That brings you in at 3.25. And I do have a gut for Brighton because at home with their style, I do think they're the kind of team that can get at a Brentford side who are very impressive, but very one-dimensional. They do the one dimension really well, but if you can spin the defenders in behind, if you can get that line up the field and knock it in behind against them, you will score goals against them, as a few teams have shown in the last few weeks. In terms of Brentford's away form as well, it's not particularly sparkling. You know, they won at Chelsea, sure, but apart from that, it's 1 point in the other 4 games in that run. That was at Nottingham Forest. They have struggled to score goals away from home. They have struggled to imprint themselves on games away from home. So I'll avoid Brentford to win. I think this game will be relatively low scoring, even though it'll be both teams to score. So, you know, it screams 2-1, it screams 1-1. Don't discount the group bet here as well. Brighton 1-0, 2-0, 2-1 usually comes in at around 4 or 5. But draw and both teams to score also tickles me as well. If you look at recent Brighton and Hove Albion games at home, they have drawn the last 3. 1-1 with a rubbish Sheffield United, 1-1 with an average Fulham, and 2-2 with Liverpool. Draw and both teams to score at 4.5. It's really nice.
It's really, really nice. And to be honest, now looking at the comments, and thanks, guys, for everyone who joined in the show and leaving your comments. I could see, like Johannes pointing at at a 2-2 draw at the Amex. Avedi also going into both teams to score. Some of the comments we haven't mentioned before with the Luton and Arsenal as well, pointing out on Arsenal winning at halftime and full time and under as well market. But pretty much on this Brighton Brentford, yes, both teams to score. Tom seemed to be the one that most everyone liked this time around. We now have to move on to Crystal Palace and Bournemouth in Selhurst Park. I know, Tom, you have the point Palace took yesterday from the London Stadium against West Ham. They have now won just one of the last 7 Premier League matches, and that was against Burnley. Last 3 home games for Palace, we can see Tom goalless draw with Nottingham Forest and defeats with Tottenham and Everton. I think we all kind of knew that sooner or later, despite the relatively good results at the beginning of the season, despite the 3 points they took in Old Trafford, we all knew that Roy Hodgson Palace was going to be at some point a dull team, a boring team, unless Eberechi Eze is available to give you some sparkle. Then is what you get with this Crystal Palace with Roy Hodgson. They were close yesterday to call Bournemouth. Yeah, they were very close, Tom, to close all the points against Villa, but ended in a draw in a stoppage time. They have lost only one of the last 5. What shall we expect here? Because Bournemouth, Tom, have conceded 30 times this season, and 18 of those have been away from home. But the problem I see with Palace is they have only scored 6 at home this season. So I don't know how to look at this one.
Well, it screams draw is the first thing you have to say in this particular game. It screams draw because Crystal Palace, as you've mentioned, 1 victory at home this season, 2 draws in that time. But they are a team that are difficult to beat if a team who find it difficult to win. I went to the game at London Stadium on Sunday, and I think if West Ham weren't so timid in the match, I think they would have beaten them quite comfortably. They look like a team, Crystal Palace, right now, who are really struggling for identity. Eze's in, he's injured again. Eze's in, he's injured again. Elise comes back in, looks threatening at times, but there's no one else really playing on his wavelength. And even though Odson Edouard scored at the weekend, he would not have done it without the complete boobery of Mavropanos of West Ham just giving him the ball and a run on the last defender. So I struggle with Crystal Palace. I really do. I struggle to bet on them winning a game. And I think you are looking at a really tight, really nervy affair between these two teams. If there's no goal in the first 15 minutes, I think the game settles into a pattern. There's a possibility Bournemouth gets stronger as the game goes on. I don't discount Dominic Solanke having an impact in this game, but at the moment, Bournemouth aren't a team I'm betting on. I like Solanke. I think he's a really good player. I think he could be a difference maker for Bournemouth this season if they keep him all season, but not in this particular game. Take the draw, 3.4, very nice. Walk away with that, no worries. If you want to beef that up a little bit more, draw an under 2.5 goals in this match. Now, does anyone really see a thriller? Look, it does happen unexpectedly, but it will be unexpected. So only bet on what you expect. Draw an under 2.5 goals in the match. That's 0-0. That's 1-1, 4.33. Really, really nice odds here. That brings you way above the threshold with the double your money, which we're looking for here. So I definitely would take that. If you think Palace will win it, and if you're going to pick one of these teams, that's where I would just go. Take Palace under 2.5 goals. That's a 1-0 win. That's a 2-0 win. 5. That's 4-1. That is really, really nice here. Whatever you do, go low scoring. I think draw, but if I had to pick a winner, I'd just go home.
Yes, Corello on the comments saying it really screams a draw here. Poor defense, Crystal Palace always to consider. Some people back in here as well. Bournemouth like Desta 3.6 for an away win in Selhurst Park. From Crystal Palace, Bournemouth. Next one is Fulham, Nottingham Forest. Fulham yesterday, Tom, was like the realization of that the happiness in the House of Poor last very little because they were twice behind in Anfield. Twice they managed to equalize. They scored the 3-2, and with 5 minutes to the end, Liverpool did what they do best, to win points from losing positions. Fulham now have scored 6 times in the last 2 games, but none of them was scored by a center forward because neither Raúl Jiménez or Vinicius can emulate Mitrovic. But fair to say they are entertaining to watch this Fulham, even against Manchester United at home, that they lost that game. It was an entertaining Fulham that afternoon. I don't know if I could use the same adjective of entertaining when I'm talking about the Nottingham Forest, especially away from home. They are traveling to London at the back of defeat with Everton on Saturday. Only 1 win in 7 away games this season. Would you imagine a KG type of game where a draw at halftime maybe is also granted here in Fulham Nottingham Forest?
Oh, definitely KG. Definitely KG. Definitely difficult to watch at times. And the interesting thing about Fulham as well, their home record, you mentioned there, it's 3 victories and 3 defeats. They've only actually scored 7 goals at home, and 3 of them came in the victory over Wolves in their last home game. So it's actually extraordinarily only 4 goals in 5 games, of which they won 2 of them. So, you know, they don't have a striker. You're right to point that out. It's sad to watch Raúl Jiménez these days because he's not the player he once was. He's never going to be that player that he once was, and it was a poor signing. And Vinicius as well, nowhere near the required quality, though he did score the winner against Luton, I think, this season at home. So that is going to be an issue for Fulham all season. That's something I'm sure that the scouting staff are looking to rectify in January, certainly in the summer, and they can start to plan for next season because there's no way Fulham get drawn into a relegation battle in this particular season. In terms of Nottingham Forest, you mentioned their record this season. Since promotion, start of last season, it's only 2 away victories in the entirety of the time they've been back up in the Premier League. One against Southampton last season, now relegated. The other against Chelsea away this season. That's it. 5 defeats away this season is extraordinary. Even in games against this pitiful West Ham team. A couple of weeks ago, they're winning the game and still contrived to lose against West Ham in that match. There is something that they are not doing right. Whether it's the way that Steve Cooper has got them trying to lead too many players forward to try and counter, whether it's the fact they are not looking for a second goal when they have to lead. I don't quite know what it is, but to have a record that poor from a gambler's perspective means you never go Forest away from home. Never go Forest, because in nearly 18 months of betting on them, you would have made no money. So it's not worth your time. So you've got to go Fulham here. How do Fulham do it? Well, away from that one high-scoring game against Wolves, all the games have been pretty low scoring here. And in fact, Fulham defensively have been pretty decent this season as well. We mentioned their scoring record at home. But if you take away the 2 conceded in the last game, it's 7 goals in 5 games, which ain't too bad. So take Fulham to win here. Straight up, it's not so good. Fulham to win to 0, though, brings you above the threshold. 3.5. Fulham to win 2-0 in this game. That's a 1-0 win, a 2-0 win. Even if you get confident and go 3-0 win, you still get your money there. But I think this will be a tight 1-0 victory for Fulham. And you cover that off with Fulham to win and under 2.5 goals. That's 4.33. Again, really, really juicy for what is a tight game here between two teams with low-scoring, tight scorelines. And as people know, I love a group bet. You can find a bookie that gives you a group bet. I love these. And this is right on the threshold. Fulham to win 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1. Lump them in together. That's 3. That's 2-1. That looks one of the safest bets of midweek for me.
Well. So plenty then in Fulham and Nottingham Forest with that Fulham to win 2-0. I mentioned before, maybe as we say, a KG game, a draw at halftime. That's a little bit over 2 on the odds for this Fulham against Nottingham Forest. People agree, not easy replacing Mitrovic on the comments. Milbeast, Forest are horrible away, and we can not agree more with you on that. Now we have a Sheffield United at home against Liverpool. Tom, while we talk Sheffield United that plays home to Liverpool, still has a manager, Sheffield United, because Paul Heckingbottom haven't been fired yet after losing 5-0 on the weekend against Burnley. We all know as well they had this season the 8-0 against Newcastle at home. Still not as bad as Hassan Hutter, who lost 2 times 9-0, remember, with Southampton in the Premier League. For Sheffield United, we count 39 goals conceded already, and they are against the 3rd best attacking team in the league. It's all about Asian handicap here, Tom. To start seeing some value, we need to start at the -2 Asian handicap. Would you go higher here?
Yeah, I think I might, because I just don't see any scenario where Liverpool don't score multiple goals in this game. I don't think it'll be as embarrassing as the 8-0 loss against Newcastle, but I do think it will be a drubbing here. And it's worth noting briefly on Sheffield United, they have no money. They're a club in massive financial issues. The reason they are not in serious financial problems right now is because of promotion. The extra money they'll make from being in the Premier League for this 1 year has covered so many losses that they have been able to survive, basically. So it's not a surprise the more you think about it. Plus, their injuries are awful. No Basham, no Egan, no Davis. McBurney's now suspended. Brewster's done nothing this season, injured again. So he's got nothing to work with, Paul Heckingbottom, and that's why he's still there, because they know he has been dealt maybe one of the worst hands in Premier League history. So all he can do is try and get over that 11-point threshold that Derby County got a few years ago, the lowest ever points tally. And that, I think, is his only aim, to not be the most embarrassing team in Premier League history. And their home record's atrocious. 19 goals conceded, 5 defeats in that time, a couple of drubbings in there as well. The only slight doubt I have here, the very, very smallest of doubts, is that Liverpool away from home have struggled in recent times. No wins in their last 4. And a couple of those games as well, I went Asian handicap, including Luton away, which they went on to draw 1-1. Plus, in the Wolves game, they did win it 3-1, but we missed the handicap threshold because of Wolves' goal in that match. So I cautiously say, if you're going to bet on this game, you have to go handicap. I'm going to take a -3, even though I'm not wildly confident on form. I usually go form first, but it's the first thing that's going to make you any money. So if you want to bet on this game, you have to go Asian handicap -3 at 3.75. There is no point doing a -2 because it brings you under the double the money threshold. So there's no point in it. Throw it into an ACCA to bump the money up, sure, but there's no point in doing anything other than -3 or bigger. The only other thing I can find here is Liverpool win to 0. It's under the threshold, but it's better than the -2 handicap. And I can't see Sheffield United scoring in this game. So it covers you off nicely. And Liverpool win to 0 might be something to throw into a double with another game to make some money this weekend. So it's not a high value match here. You can throw in random stuff. It's the kind of game where you can throw in randos like Salah scores twice or 5 different goal scorers and pick the 5 scorers and you might make something. It's not something I'll predict that you should do, but it's the kind of game where you will win something wild. This is a gut instinct bet game. Salah scores 3. Could be one to go on here. I'm not recommending it, but I'm saying do the -3 handicap and find a secondary bet, which is wild. You'll make some money.
Yes, people looking at the over 3.5 goals in here, like Ian. Also, someone mentioning Johannes Liverpool Asian handicap for the second half. Well, actually, again, to find the good land of odds close to 3 in the first half, Liverpool minus 1.5 Asian handicap. Yes, but I agree, Tom, doesn't seem to be great value in this one in Sheffield United against Liverpool. From there to a game which, at least on the paper, sounds very interesting. One is the Aston Villa against Manchester City. What happened yesterday, Tom, in the Etihad in normal circumstances should not have happened. I mean, Tottenham leaving with a point after City had so many clear chances to finish the first half 4 or 5-1 easily. But at the same time, now City has conceded 8 goals in the last 3 games. Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham yesterday, and they visit the Villa side that won the last 13 home Premier League games, a team which is 16 points better off than last season at this same stage. Villa side that can stop scoring. Yesterday draw 2-2 with Bournemouth. They have now scored 33 goals. Yes, City scored 36 so far, but they are City and they have Haaland as well. So it's impressive that that only City actually have taken more points than this Villa in 2023. But if there is a team, Tom, that can say, I couldn't care less about all the numbers you just said and travel to Villa Park and win comfortably, that is actually City. But to see value in the total goal markets here, we have to go over 3. Would you go to the goals? Would you point to the goal markets? Would you go to individual markets? Maybe pointing at Ollie Watkins here to find good value?
I tell you what, I don't think we need to be too complicated here in terms of making some money. Look, City have shown so many vulnerabilities in the early part of this season, and I still expect them come February to go on a rampage and win the league by 8 points. But right now, they're having the occasional wobble. And just look at the straight up odds. Aston Villa are 4.6 just to win this game. They have won every single home game this season. They have won every single home game in the last 13. Not a great deal of competition in league games, it's got to be said, in those games. They haven't really played many big teams in that run. They've got a bit of luck there, but the form has been terrific. The goal scoring has been terrific. The way they've competed in games has been terrific. And Villa Park believes right now. And there aren't many times where you can look at a team at home who have won that many games at home in a row, unbeaten at home this season, 6 straight victories, and they are 4.6 just to win. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it because City have shown vulnerability this season. And so I like that. I'm going to take it straight up. I think Ollie Watkins should be fit for this game. It's a massive differential maker if Ollie Watkins is not available, but he should be all right for this one. I know there are some concerns about him. Beyond that, there are no significant injury issues for Aston Villa. And you look at the goal scoring as well. At home this season, 23 goals scored. They're not just winning games, they are walloping teams on an average of over 3 goals per game at home. Extraordinary. The other thing worth noting, they have conceded in most games as well. Despite only 5 conceded, they've conceded in the previous last 5. So Villa to win and both teams to score, it absolutely screams that as well here. But Villa to win both teams to score, and don't discount the draw market as well. Really nice odds here for not unlikely scorelines. Just the draw is 4.5. You throw in both teams to score, that'll go even higher, coming towards around 5, maybe 5.2. So look out for draw, both teams to score. Look out for Aston Villa to win. If you're looking for group bets as well, I always like a group bet. Villa to win this 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 6.5. Really nice. It screams 2-1 to me. But you've got the cover of 1-0 and 2-0 as well. And of course, you don't discount Manchester City, because if they really turn it on, they are going to be able to win this game. I do see them conceding, if I'm honest. But the group bet I've picked out again. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1 City. Screams 2-1 either way to me, this game. 2-1 is 3.75 if you lump in 1-0 and 2-0 as well. And look, Man City right now, that Tottenham game was indicative of their season, I think, to this point. Going forward, they scored 3 years ago. Would they have scored 8? You know, chance after chance, moment after moment, for whatever reason. If it's not Haaland, and even Haaland at the weekend, it's not quite happening for them. And I just wonder whether the lack of substitutions, the lack of rotation, which is intentional from Guardiola, the lack of Ilkay Gundogan, giving you a lack of control in midfield, has been significant. They can't bring Gundogan on to say, right, settle it down, I'll get the ball and we'll start running the game. They're not able to do it. Plus, notable here as well, yellow cards were picked up in the game against Tottenham. No Rodri, 5 yellow cards. Grealish suspended 2. Another big storyline dumped in the middle of this game. I'm going to take Villa to win because the odds are too tempting for me.
And we know what happened to City without Rodri this season already. We had that preview already and didn't go very, very well for them. And, you know, funny, before you mentioned the draw and both teams to score with odds over 5 on that one, Ivan was also pointing at the draw and both teams to score. So high value as well on that one. But look at there at the screen. Villa to win 4.6 this midweek fixture in the Premier League. From Villa Park to Old Trafford, Tom, Manchester United, Chelsea come next to analyze. United were again very super poor against Newcastle. For me, Ten Hag lately, Tom, looks like someone who could get the job in Madame Tussauds museum, because every time you look at him, he's spending minutes doing nothing, just like this, silent, not giving too many indications to his players. Either he believes he doesn't have much to say, or he can't get bothered too much, to be honest. Maybe that day when he finally finds a plan, because he always says that he has a plan, which is with every single match. If which comes with the losing game, he said, we are following a plan, we have a plan. Well, he will definitely need one against Chelsea, who celebrated the 3 points yesterday against Brighton. It was a hard-fought win, yes, down to 10 men for 60 minutes. We have interesting odds here with Chelsea being the favorite for the bookies, Tom, for a win in Old Trafford. Manchester United win has odds on 3 on average. A draw, also good odds here, 3.8 on average on Oddspeedia's websites. 5 of the last 6 encounters have ended with a draw. That's why I was pointing to that one. In May this year, United, yes, won 4-1. But before that game in May, we have had 3 matches ending 1-1 and 2 matches ending 0-0. We expect something similar or not again this time?
Well, you know, I do these odds the previous night before coming into the studio to do these on the following day, and I hadn't realised United were going to be 3. I got to tell you, sometimes we do these live, and I see the odds, and I think, wow, 2-1 for Manchester United to win. That's extraordinary. It doesn't happen in the Manchester United market because they're the most famous team in England. Because of that, people who are casual gamblers put a bet on Manchester United, and that compresses the odds on Man United to win. So no one's betting on Man United is what this tells me. No one's doing it. Even the casual bettors aren't doing it right now. And that's our opening, folks. That's our opening. I'm taking that. I am taking that right now. Man United to win at 3.0 at 2-1. I think that's brilliant. I think it's brilliant because he has got a plan, Erik ten Hag. He really does. And it's the same plan that was successful for him in his first season in charge. They are a low block, counter punch, counter attack team. What he needs is the guy with pace over the top to score when he gets the chance. In his first season, Marcus Rashford scored 30-plus goals. And that's why they were so successful, because over the top to Rashford was working for them every week. This year, Rashford's not doing it. Højlund's done nothing. Garnacho's not great over the top. Anthony Martial, you may have seen the row between him and Erik ten Hag at the weekend at St. James's Park. Stop playing Anthony Martial, buddy. It's over for Anthony Martial. No point having a row with him, trying to make him something he's not. He's not a winger. He's not a forward. He's nothing. It's time to knock that on the head and let him go and play for Burnley or something where he belongs. So it's a tricky one, but I do think the way Chelsea play will feed nicely into Manchester United. They will let Chelsea have the ball, look to spring the counter, and if they can get Rashford and Garnacho on a good day, there's every chance they go on to win this match. Plus, in Bruno Fernandes, they still have, for me, one of the best players in the Premier League, one of the form players in the Premier League as well, who's delivered some really good performances across this campaign. It is 3 losses and 2 wins in the last 5 at home, but the win over Luton, the win over Brentford, I think they're indicative here against the Chelsea team, who, yes, they won at the weekend, but they are still a lower mid-table team. I think you look at the way they've played in recent games against Tottenham before the madness, in the Newcastle match, in the Bournemouth match. They have a lot of possession for possession's sake and not a great deal of cut and thrust about them. I know they've been scoring more goals recently, but my journey with Chelsea, I haven't got Chelsea right once this season, because every time I've gone win, they've lost. Every time I've gone lost, they've won. But I don't fancy him here, and you don't get United for these odds. So I'll take Man United. I'd also look at the way Man U have been winning games recently. Very, very narrow. I think this game will be 0-0 for a long, long, long time. So first of all, take Man United. Second of all, take Man United to win and under 2.5 goals in the game. If United win at the moment, there are not many goals. 7.5. Are you kidding me with these odds? That's Man U to win at home 2-0. Now, that was a banker in this country for 30 years. And now it's 7.5. That is extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. So definitely for me, I'm taking that. I'm taking Man United to win. And the other element here, draw, late winning goal. Halftime draw, Man United win. Again, 7.5. It's insanity to me. I have never seen things like this for Manchester United. And what? Because Chelsea have won a couple of shonky games in the last few weeks. They're favourite to go and win at Old Trafford. Look, maybe they do it, right? Anything can happen. But if we're saying that Chelsea are favourites off the back of that win over Tottenham, where Tottenham just collapsed as a football club across an hour, and because they managed to beat Brighton 3-2 on Sunday, when luck was in their favour multiple times, I don't see it. I don't get it. Take Manchester United.
To be honest, Tom, I cannot see the faces of people commenting, but I believe the eyes were wide open when you mentioned 7.5 on half-time draw and United to win it at the final whistle, which clearly could happen. People agreeing with you on Martial. Some of them saying, like, if Martial starts, Chelsea wins, which also could be a combination and on that. But yes, wide opening odds here with those 7.5 you mentioned. The one before the last one, Tom, is Everton, Newcastle. I think we all like watching Newcastle, the intensity, the collective effort, the fact that for all the money they have, you still have to Google some of them to know where they have been before Newcastle. They're such a well-drilled team. They have a great manager. But all this that I'm saying, when they play away from home, this sparkle is not there, at least not with the same intensity. They lost away to Bournemouth. They draw with Wolverhampton and West Ham. In Champions League, they were also very poor in Milan or Dortmund. They now go to Goodison Park to face an Everton side at the back of a very important win on Saturday. Everton knows that if they win and Arsenal does the same with Luton, Tom, Everton will be out of the relegation zone. I imagine this match only opening maybe in the second half. What's your take here, Tom?
Tricky, really tricky game, because Everton are a team who feel hard done by. They feel the Premier League have given them too many points deducted. That's probably right. I think on appeal that'll probably come down a little bit to 5 to 7 points, but still a big amount of points to make up in the season for Everton. To be fair, they'll still stay up because the promoted 3 plus Bournemouth are just not going to get over 30 points, which means Everton get 40 points, which they were going to get anyway, I think, this season. they're still going to stay up. So no great issue. The issue is winning home games. 7 home games at this point, 5 defeats. And I was shocked at the Man United match. They had a few moments, created a few chances. There was a bit of buzz about Goodison. And I know they conceded that amazing early goal, which changes a lot of things. But just an awful home record. Just 5 goals scored, 1 victory in the last 5, 1 victory all season. Some really poor performances. They don't create many chances. And again, we're doing it again, folks. I don't know if Dominic Calvert-Lewin's going to be fit. Well, I mean, he's just come back, and we get to the Forest game at the weekend, and he's not there. Look, they won that game, fantastic, but he's such a difference maker. If he is fit, Everton have a £50 million striker. If he is not fit, they have no one of required Premier League quality, in my view, to be their centre forward. So there are issues there. For Newcastle, the away form is surprising. I think that's a really fair point. Just 1 win away from home this season. But if you watched any of the Bournemouth game before the international break, I mean, they haven't got many players now, but they were so bare bones in that game. It was unbelievable. Ben Parkinson came on, who's like a teenage centre forward, because they just didn't have anybody. There's still a bunch of injuries, obviously, for Newcastle. Tonali, Murphy, Byrne, Wilson, Anderson, Longstaff, Botman, Willock, Barnes, Pope now injured, picked up a knock the weekend. So Dubravka's going to come in, Manquillo and Target, and some doubts about Gordon. No, I think he'll probably play. So all sorts of problems. That all being said, I'm not going to go Everton at home. I'm not mad. So take a Newcastle win here, straight up 2.5. It's slightly under the threshold, but I just think Newcastle are going to go there and win. I also can't see Everton scoring against Newcastle's backline. Lascelles been brilliant since coming in for Botman. Beyond that, it's a really strong defensive lineup. Livramento is an upgrade, I think, at the left-back position as well, when he was really coming in as a temporary replacement. So the back line is good. There's still Joe Linton. There's still Bruno Guimaraes. They're brilliant. They've got 8 or 9 of their first team. Newcastle win 2-0 without conceding. 4.5. That's a 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, all likely score lines, but you're betting on Everton being crap in front of goal. That's one of the safest bets you can have. So Newcastle win 2-0, Newcastle straight up win, and also, if you're feeling really brave, a -1 handicap here. It's a 2-0 win for Newcastle at Everton. It's 5. That seems really long to me for a Newcastle 2-0 victory, which to me feels the likeliest scoreline. So lots of nice Newcastle nibbles here.
I can see some people pointing as well to draw market here. Yes, it drags me, to be honest, on this one, that draw 3.764. And also Milby's pointing something that it was in my mind. It's not bad to have it as well there at the back of your bet, that Newcastle are playing on Sunday in London against Tottenham, and 3 days later they play against Milan in the last Champions League game. So in terms of like intensity, maybe rotations, not having a full squad at the moment, that could have an impact on Goodison Park, and maybe why not a draw 3.6 there. The last one, Tom, we have to analyze is Tottenham against West Ham. Spurs, we mentioned before, absolutely lucky not to concede more than 2 or 3 or 4 in the first half. And they went back to London in the end with a point. Of course, they have plenty of injuries, and that has to put into context. Although they are getting back Christian Romero on Thursday to lead the back four, to play against City with 4 fullbacks in the back line and get a point. Hats off for Postecoglou, to be honest. This said, 4 consecutive match, Tottenham scored first in the match, but couldn't hold onto that lead. It happened with Wolves, Chelsea, Aston Villa, and yesterday in the Etihad. West Ham also couldn't hold the lead yesterday, although, Tom, I thought they would go and win it in the last minutes, as there has been the case lately with them. The last away win at Tottenham for West Ham was in 2019, although there were some thriller draws afterwards, like the 3-3 in 2020. Tottenham to win, odds of 1.86, but Tottenham to win first half, odds of 2.45. What would you look in this last fixture of Matchday 15, Tom?
Well, I think that Tottenham are still terrific going forward, despite the injuries and issues they've got. No, James Maddison is massive. Heung-min Son has been terrific this season, a player rejuvenated in central forward positions. Dejan Kulusevski was terrific at the weekend. Even Giovanni Lo Celso is contributing this season, having offered almost nothing since going to Tottenham. So anyone with attacking flair is excelling in this team right now. I think they'll come out of the traps really quickly, score really early, and go on to win this game quite comfortably. And the other reason for that is, you mentioned West Ham there. I watch a lot of West Ham games. I was there on Sunday, and that's intentional. The way West Ham play is intentional. It's not an accident they do this. They try and do nothing for 85 minutes. They try and make the game nothing for 85 minutes. It requires total concentration. And when you've got a boob like Mavropanos at centre-half, it'll cost you a game. You have to just be in the game, try and make it unwatchable for 85 minutes, and then try and attack for the final 5, even less than that. David Moyes intentionally didn't start attacking until the 90th minute in the game at the weekend. It's extraordinary, but it has got them 3 victories and a draw in their last 4 games. It has got them only 4 or 5 points behind Newcastle, who we think are Champions League contenders. So, it's unwatchable. It is unwatchable what they do, but it's very effective if you look at the points tally. So, we'll see how it goes across the season for West Ham. But they won't win here. Look, Tottenham want to beat West Ham. This is a big rivalry between these two teams that has bubbled up in recent years. It's certainly a bigger game for West Ham in a lot of ways, but I think Tottenham are in the West Ham pool now, as opposed to being in the Man City pool. These are two teams who all want to qualify for European football. These are two teams who will want to qualify for Champions League football if possible. That's the target for both of these clubs and has been for a few years. West Ham Conference League and Europa League may be more realistic, but, they want to be a Champions League team. They've got a 62,500 stadium and Mohamed Kudus and Jarrod Bowen and Lucas Paqueta in their team. They shouldn't be as difficult to watch as they are, but, at the moment they are. Plus, it is worth noting, another season where West Ham, no one plays as many games as West Ham. They have so many games of football. They keep getting through in the Europa. They keep getting through in the Carabao Cup. They keep getting through. And they've had a game every 3 days pretty much since August. So maybe it's the only way they can play. I don't know. But look, go Tottenham here. I don't think West Ham's tactic is going to work in this particular game. Their home form has been pretty decent. 4 victories, 2 defeats. They have lost the last 2. But, Villa are a team that I think can counterpunch you. And the Chelsea game was extraordinary. A few ways to make some money here. Tottenham score early and late, which I fancy. That's a Tottenham half-time and full-time. That's 2.75, just under the threshold. A -1 handicap. I think Spurs will win this at least 2-0. That brings you in at double your money at 3. But if you feel slightly more conservative, this is quite an easy win, this. Tottenham win and under 3.5 goals in this match at 3.25. That even gives you room for a West Ham consolation goal in a 2-1 victory. So all sorts of Tottenham win there.
Yes, and on the comment section, Cy Tyson saying both teams to score, but there's not much value there. Size 1.65 for both teams to score in this fixture. If you point to the goals market like Ivan, yes, you need to go over 3.5 to find some good value on this Tottenham Newcastle West Ham. Sorry, Tottenham West Ham. That was all Matchday 15 in the Premier League with Tom Rennie. Tom, before we say goodbye, your safe bet and ACCA for this Matchday 15.
My safe bet is Liverpool to win. Of course, Liverpool are going to win their game against Luton Town. They simply have to win that game. And so I'm going to take that against Sheffield United, even though the doubts I have about the Luton Town game are still fresh in my mind, obviously. I think they're going to beat Sheffield United, so go with that. And my ACCA this week, my ACCA is really interesting. Now, I've gone with doubles or trebles this season. I've won, I think, 8 or 9 of my ACCAs have come in this season, including the weekend just gone. And that's given me incredible confidence here to go for my most daring ACCA of the season. A 4-fold victory ACCA. Arsenal and Liverpool, put them in because they're big favourites. But if you also put in Manchester United to beat Chelsea, I know, folks, and you throw Newcastle in there as well, look at those odds. 12.67. Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Newcastle. Now, I know that's wild, and I know that means you've got to have confidence in Manchester United. But that's extraordinary. That is extraordinary numbers. So I'm often a bit risk-averse because I want to make some money for you. But in this particular one, I'm going to go wild, and I think that is worth a low bet, high reward, 4-fold gamble.
Alan Fayer's amazing odds. Corello, I'm taking it. So there you go. Remember, Tom Rennie got it spot on. ACCA on Matchday 14. Why not to think to do the same on Matchday 15? Tom, thanks a lot. That was a pleasure. As always, you guys, before you go to Oddspeedia's website to place your bets, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.